Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Is that too loud, you guys? Too loud? I'm always the loudest. Turn me down. Turn me down.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Can you guys hear us okay out there? Turn it up a little, turn it down a little. I just want to make sure. Can you guys hear us on Facebook and YouTube? The rain right now, look it, it's already coming in and splashing on the equipment. I can't hear the music, but okay. If you guys can hear us out there okay, good. They can hear us out there. And if you guys are listening on Facebook and YouTube and the sound, everything. Okay, thank you. Jammin' Cruises says everything online is good.
Okay. I'm too loud.
No, I can't
It's
hear
clearly
you, which
too
is
loud.
weird. Keep talking, dear. Keep talking.
Every week, folks. Every week.
No, I mean,
we even practiced this last night.
No, the
We even had to.
rain right now is incredible. It's
Yeah.
just,
So, do you want to share with everybody what happened yesterday with the rain?
no, I don't want to share with everybody what happened yesterday with the
Oh.
rain.
Okay.
Hey, Dave, look at how wet he is. It's like a wet T-shirt contest with Dave.
Woohoo!
Dave, you look great, man. You look great. So I screwed up a couple of things. The first thing is that I told Jonathan Martin, our first guest, 11 by accident because I get the days.
You get the
up.
days
The
confused.
Saturdays at 11 and Sundays at 10, and I'm very stressed out about the baby. So sometimes I get things all screwed up. So
And then you left the equipment out in the rain.
no, I didn't leave it out in the rain. And so second thing is, well, now you got me all discombobulated. So Holly's here. So Holly's having breakfast.
You checked for like
So we're
cognitive
just going to
decline.
switch the guests around. Jonathan's
Okay.
on his way. We'll switch the guests around, which is fine. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the debacle at the gym. Like for the second weekend in a row, I go to Crunch Fitness, and the person at Crunch Fitness again is not there to show up. And it makes no sense to me how you can operate a business that way. But then somebody got on my Facebook page and they said that they think they're closing. So if they're closing, then really people don't care whether or not they show up. They're closing. So
Right.
I didn't know that. So yesterday, I'll tell the story.
But like I said, you have other gym memberships. Just go to the other gyms and the problem is solved. Because you know what? Every time you complain about it, it's like that's the simple answer. If you're not getting the service you want, go someplace else. But you just want to come. You're a complainer.
Stop trying to be rational about things. What I like to do is I like to mix things up. I like to go to Crunch Fitness on Sunday. And so anyway, so just to put a bow on that story, I go to the Planet Fitness, which is by the Target here. And again, the 19-year-old girl is there yawning, but she's there. She opened up. They were there on time. There were people there. And I said to her, I'm not working out for free today. I handed her a $20 bill to work out. And I said, keep it. She goes, no, I can't take your money. I said, no, I don't care what you do with the money. I'm not taking it back. Just take the money. I'm not working out for the third time for free because these jamokes down the street can't open. So yesterday.
Hey, you know what? Somebody sent me the lunk alarm from Planet Fitness. Do you know what that is?
I do.
Yep. And your the back of your body was in it. And
yeah. The minute
these guys, do you know what that is?
The lunk alarm.
So, go ahead.
At Planet Fitness, the weights only go up to 75. Oh, I got to tell you another story about Planet Fitness. The weights only go up to 75 pounds. They're really more family friendly. They don't want, bodybuilder types grunting and dropping weights.
They don't want the grunting, hunking, that group in there.
Because that's kind of an intimidating thing to some people that don't go to the gym normally.
It's not only that it's intimidating, it's irritating because they don't. A lot of times, people need to clean up their things and they take up too much time and they're grunting and groaning and they're, it's enough.
So,
it's enough.
So now, so
find your self-esteem someplace else. It just cannot be in the gym.
This is how juvenile I am. So there's a 19-year-old kid who's doing I was doing an incline bench with dumbbells and with our son-in-law. And so, the weights only go up to 75 pounds, which is fine. I mean, so you got to figure out what to do. You got to do. I appreciate it if you stop talking.
All right, but you're a little
please, because something is going to happen.
After you broke it.
So I was doing an incline dumbbell press, and as I kind of moved over to take a walk, I get up and walk around after a set. This 19-year-old kid steals my bench. Like, he doesn't say anything. He just steals my bench. I walked away, so I was like, all right, well, this kid grabs 75-pound dumbbells. So this is how juvenile I am. I count how many he did. He did 7 reps. So I said to Warren, I got to do 8 now. So I got on the other bench and I did 8. And I was like, yeah. And then I put my weights back in his spot just to show him who was the king of the gym. And then the lunk alarm went off. So, I'm juvenile like that. So.
Really, really pathetic and petty.
But I'm okay admitting that. You have to know who you are, dear. You have to know.
I don't know. I think that makes it worse when you know who you are and you still don't do anything about it.
So yesterday,
I'm sure now Holly's so thrilled
Holly's
to come
leaving.
on.
She just wrote her check out. She's out of here. So I apologize.
She's like, I don't want to be affiliated with this business.
So yesterday, we usually do our 11 o'clock show at La Di Da. And I set up at 9 o'clock. I like to come early and set everything up so that everything's ready to go. So I go in. I got access somehow to get in at 9 o'clock before anyone's there. I set up the equipment. Then I walk over here to have breakfast because I like to have breakfast here. By the time I was done eating, it was raining like this. So I was like, let me just text over there to make sure they shut the garage doors. The storm came so fast. When I finally got over there, what I saw hanging in the back was this sheet. And I was like, oh, shit, that's a bad sign. So as I got out to where the equipment was set up, the staff there was trying to dry the equipment off. And they had all the ads on different tables because they were soaking wet. Everything was underwater, the cords. And I was like, It's my own fault for doing it and walking away.
Well, thank you for taking some responsibility.
I don't blame anybody. So I got home last.
That's not exactly what you were saying yesterday, but okay.
No, I got home yesterday now I'm with the hair dryer with her. Like, you got like a $600 hair dryer.
I do. I got it as a gift. It's one of those Dyson hair dryers. That thing will dry your hair in like 3 seconds.
No kidding.
Flat.
I got a third-degree
and it's
burn
got a
on my
hole
finger
through
when
it.
I
You're like,
turned it
how
on.
does this even work?
So I'm blow drying the thing because the first thing I did was turn the machine on, the brand new machine that we just got a few weeks ago, and 30 seconds later it turned off. I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do tomorrow? And then I did it again and again, and they got the hair dryer out and the Q-tips, and she comes home and she goes, you should put it in a big giant box of rice, because that always works with
it
the
works
phones.
for cell phones,
Yeah,
because
the
the
biggest-
rice takes it takes the moisture out. Okay, you're giving me a look and shaking your head. You're the idiot that left it out in the rain. So I wouldn't be making judgments about me.
So the folks that are watching in Cape Coral, this is exactly what we're going to get over there. Is a lot of insulting aimed at my direction from her. So
Yeah, those dry packets that you get in shoes and stuff.
So can I just say one more thing before?
Oh, let me just say one thing. He bought himself did we talk about your shoes? He had this thing he had to go do in Cape Coral. So he doesn't have any good shoes. And he's like, I can't wear my sandals. So he went to DSW and bought a pair of shoes. And he comes walking into dinner with the shoes on. And it's like,
You're size
can't see it.
13.
You're like clunk, clunk. And he's not bending his knees. He's
He's like-
just like, blah, blah, blah. I said, what are you doing? He's like, they didn't have 12 and a half. So I got 13. These things, he's like,
It was like Bozo the Clown feet.
yes. I'm like, and then I said, don't worry about it. We'll just take them back. And then guess what happened?
So the reason
Petey
wait,
the dog ate the receipt. So now we're stuck with these canoes.
She leaves out the most important part of that whole thing because it involves her making a mistake, and she never wants to admit she makes a mistake. So
I don't see how this can be possible.
I leave the house, and when I leave the house, I shut the office door because I know we have a puppy that eats everything. So I shut the door, and then I watch on my computer. I got an Amazon order. I don't know how I got an Amazon order because I wasn't at home. Well, she was on my computer placing an Amazon order and then left the door open, and the dog went in there and ate the receipt. Now,
I don't really think that's where the receipt was.
The one thing I didn't tell you was that, we have this reclining chair that has a plug-in to it that if you plug it in, it reclines back. And if you don't have a plug, it doesn't recline back. Well, the dog chewed the cord in half, like totally chewed it in half. And so the recliner was, I didn't tell you, I was able to splice it back together so it works. But that dog eats everything. Everything.
What other cord did he eat the other day?
We're going to do this in reverse order, and I know she's here early. So do you guys want to do this together? Because I screwed up the guest order like I've done with you before. Right, Heidi?
Did they just put their food order in?
Go ahead, Holly, eat. No, eat. Heidi was going to come on at the end. Heidi's going to come on. I didn't have no idea why she wanted to come on, so we'll have you guys on first from FMB Strong Big. Are you coming on too, Tim? Or it's up to Heidi? All right. No, it's up to you. I don't even know why you're here, but you can. She said
you don't know why you're here.
I asked Heidi to take me a couple of pictures of Main Street because that's where FMB Strong is located, and she said in return, I'm coming on the show. I said, okay, you're coming on the show. Okay. Heidi's got microphone number. Go ahead, Heidi. Why are you here?
Why am I here?
It's so nice to see you, and we're glad to have you.
Nice
well, thank you. I'm here with news to share for the island.
It's breaking news.
It is breaking news.
Oh, wow.
Is it
it's
good
heartbreaking.
News? Oh, it's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking news.
Oh boy.
I think I can get through this.
I should have said no, you can't come on.
FMB Strong will be closing its pantry doors only, is what we need to make sure we're all aware of. We will still be a 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
We will still be a hub for Red Cross and United Way if we get a hurricane or a storm or a situation that we need to open our doors back again.
Okay.
We have, geez, Ed.
I know.
I'm still learning.
We have helped, I can't even count how many people. A lot of those people have changed my life. I didn't think it would be this hard. The amount of people that we have helped and saved after the hurricane is unbelievable. There are numerous people that we've helped come clean from drugs and alcohol that if we weren't there, they would not be here today. We will be doing a press release coming out this week for places that people can get help, food pantry wise. Patty has agreed to continue to help people with Social Security and food stamps, which is very important because there are Patty Benson that works with us at FMB Strong. It's very important that we make that known because the fact there are so many people that their renewals are coming and they don't know how to do it. And if we aren't there to help them, they're going to suffer even more. So we will be putting that information out on our website as to who they can contact, how they can get in contact. And on the good news is we'll still be doing our roper crawl.
Okay.
So
There
nobody
you go.
panic.
So
The
when
roper
you,
crawl is still on.
so when
the
you
rope-
do that, what will the money be used for?
The money will be used for still helping the people in the community.
Yeah.
We will also use that money. We'll actually have to save some of that money in case we do have a storm. Right now, if we have a storm, we're screwed. And that's just blatant simple. We have $0.
Yeah.
So
what does this mean for you? What your glasses are all fogged up a
I
little
know.
bit, Heidi.
um,
What are you going to do?
I'm not sure yet, Ed.
Okay.
And we're going to, we'll
might
see
need a
where the
new-
next journey takes me.
I might need a new co-host soon.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I don't know if I could put up with you, Ed. I'm
Might-
sorry.
Might need a new wife, but I don't think anyone wants that job.
I don't know that I could do it, Ed. So we will be, like I said, we will be putting out a press release of where people can go to different pantries around the area to get help, the help that they still need.
As of when will this take place?
September 10th will be our last day.
All right. All right.
And like I say, it's a last day as a pantry only.
So
We
what
will
does that
still be
mean? Like
here.
what else?
She
People will
just
be
went-
able to go there in the regular facility or different? Is that facility at
That
Buttonwood
facility
closing?
will be closed.
So in order to get in touch with somebody on the other stuff, they will have to go to the website or call some
Yes,
number?
we have
Okay.
a phone number, which is 802-239-1962. Thank you, Tim.
And Tim Ryan is in the back here. He actually, it was his idea to start the 501c3 right after. I remember him. We all, for those of you that don't know, 820 Buttonwood was like the meeting place. It was where we met Jorge, really.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For when people couldn't get over the bridge, it was a meeting place for people right after the storm. And Tim and a few other folks that created a 501c3 board, made it an official charity, and then you came aboard at some point to help
Right.
run it. And here we are now, 3 years after the storm.
3 years after the storm. I guess what we can take out of this is, I think everybody that we've met, tons of new people, tons of friends. Like I said, I didn't know Jorge before the storm, like you
Right.
said, and we became great friends. These people, I don't remember their name, but I've met them. I'm not good with names, so. And these folks over here were there right after the storm. They jumped in. They Brian and Angela, they got donations from their friends up north and got us tons of shelving, and just the amount of people we've helped and the friends that we've made is incredible.
And I know I've told this story 1,000 times. It's where Tim and Dan used to keep their golf carts. And right after the storm, it was gigantically thick mud, and they cleaned out the whole place to put in all these supplies. And we've actually held events there when we raised money for pressure washers for Milton.
And we still have the pressure washers. And we will have a storage unit still that, and we'll keep those pressure washers in that storage unit. So if there is an incident, we can help with those, and you'll have them to use. Everyone will still have them to use. So
Are you going to donate the food that's left to Harry Chapin or something, or is it
well, that's where
already
it comes
gone?
from. So we will get that to other pantries.
Mhm. And you're going to get the information to the people.
Yes,
yeah,
we will
where
do
they
a
can
press
get it.
release. Like I
Mhm.
said, this week we're working on it. the most important thing is that we're still going to be here for our community, just in a different way.
All right. Well, that is sad news,
Yeah.
Yes.
but it's good to know that there's still going to be services and stuff that you can provide.
Yep.
God forbid that the need
Yes.
arises.
And hopefully we don't
Hopefully we don't. Yeah.
have to use that, but
All right, Heidi.
if we do, we're there.
All right.
Well, thank you for
All right.
coming on and letting us
Thanks.
know, and let us know what you're going to do also. So can we get a
Yes.
big hand for Heidi? And
Whose yeoman's job
Yes.
she did.
yes.
Yeoman's job.
All right. Our first guest has arrived, so Holly can have her breakfast, and he looks like he's got 2 young whippersnapper sons with him. Jonathan Martin is your senator, everybody. Can we get a big round of applause for Jonathan? Come on over. I hope you didn't order breakfast because we're about to. All right. You're going to take microphone 3, and I apologize. Let me first apologize for telling you the wrong time. So go ahead and grab that mic, and I apologize if I told
Apology
you.
accepted.
Thank you. 11 o'clock because
Hey, that's
I
mine.
always get the times messed up between
Thank you for
Saturday and
being
Sunday.
early, because otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
if you had followed his instructions, you wouldn't be here. So
So how old are your sons?
So the oldest or the tallest right there, he just started first grade. He's 6 years old, and the little guy is 3.
3. And
they're
I
taking
have-
after you, though. They're tall.
Yeah, I have a daughter who's back at the house. So
where are they going to school?
they go to ECS.
All right. So I've got a couple of questions to throw at you right at the beginning, if you don't mind. The first question I want to ask you about is the Sunshine Law. One of the things that is perplexing to me about the Sunshine Law is the state mandates that if 2 people on the Fort Myers Beach Town Council or Sanibel or Cape Coral are together, they can't talk about issues that might come before them for a vote. Yet, if Senator Pasadomo walked in this place, you and her could have a conversation until the cows came home about something you're going to vote on tomorrow and don't have to abide by the Sunshine Law. How is that fair?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between how the legislator works and then how the councils and the boards work. And we could talk for days about the nuances and the size of the committees, the size of the boards, and then also how the legislature works. I think one of the most important things about the legislature is one individual or 2 people can't unilaterally change anything in the entire legislature. So we think about there's 160 legislators. In order for a bill to become a law, it has to be identical in both the House and the Senate, and the governor has to agree on it.
Mm-hmm.
In order for it to even get to the floor to vote in the House or in the Senate, most bills are generally going through 3 committee meetings. So there's so much discussion and so much opportunity to talk. And frankly, the amount of bills that we deal with every single year in the House and the Senate, thousands of bills, not every bill even gets heard in the committee. So a lot of times, instead of think if you're working on a committee or a board that has 5 or 6 or 7 people, like many city councils and county commissions, where anybody in new business or discussion can say, hey, we want to consider this issue.
Mm-hmm.
In the legislature, we don't have time for that. And we're limited with our time. We're only in session for 60 days. So a lot of the conversations that are happening behind closed doors are, can you please put my bill on committee?
Mhm.
And that's basically what it is. And of course, you're trying to line up votes and make sure that you're not wasting your time, and you want to make sure that the bills that are going to pass are actually getting on committee. So I would say that's the bulk of the conversations that are happening behind closed doors. But frankly, nobody would care if somebody else walked in anyways and heard those conversations. It's just a matter of public notice. How do you give 10 days notice that one senator wants to walk into another senator's office
fair
and
enough.
say, hey, can you amend this bill so we can put it up on the committee?
Yeah, and I think part of why it makes somewhat sense is that you only meet for 60 days. If you were meeting, like if it was a full-time job, it might be different, I guess, right? I mean,
Right.
Technically you're only supposed to be there for 60 days, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Exactly. And you actually don't have enough time to watch all the committee meetings that are even taking place.
Okay.
So all those are public noticed. Everybody has the right to show up and speak or wave in support or wave against, but you don't even have enough time to watch all those committee meetings because there's so many happening simultaneously that even if you were noticed, you wouldn't have a chance to show up and be part of those
Fair enough.
discussions.
Okay, so one more question before you get to yours. So
Mine.
I don't know if
I
you're
have a whole
ours.
list.
I don't know if you're paying attention, but there is a recall going on here on Fort Myers Beach, and the state legislature has kind of, I don't know if it's a loophole or something, but they allow somebody to make an accusation about an elected official without having to provide proof, as long as it fits into one of these 7 things. And we're to the point now where it seems like there's going to be an election. There's 100 more signatures than what the recall committee on the beach needs before I think it's like the first recall election since 1951 in Lee County. But they didn't have to provide any proof of the allegations of violating the Sunshine Law or taking gifts from developers. Do you agree that there's a loophole, or do you think that it's purposely vague enough that if there are enough angry voters on whatever, it should be brought to a recall? What's your stance on that?
I think the recall elections serve as an important release valve for pressure. So a lot of times before even an accusation is made, if there's a lot of pressure that's building up, I think that's the idea for the recall election. But if it provides, and I don't know the exact situation that you're talking about right now, but if it provides an opportunity for somebody just to come in, make an accusation, and force the city to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a recall without any additional checks and balances, I would definitely look into changing that or tailoring it so that we're not wasting our time, so city officials can get their job done. But for those very important issues where somebody is breaking the law, that a recall can be done.
Well, there was clearly no law breaking. Just to fill you in, and then I'll let it go. It's like people are angry on Fort Myers Beach about Seagate being approved, 17 stories. They were incorporated on the beach because of high buildings. Yet the accusations that the former mayor and former town council member made against John and Karen are that they violated the Sunshine Law. There's no proof of that. Now, they may have proof, but they've never put it on the table. That's why they're suing them.
But there's also not the requirement. I think that's the thing, is that the way it's written is there's no requirement for proof, which kind of goes against how we do things, that you have to.
But that is it seems like the community has used your analogy of the relief valve. There are enough signatures now, more than enough signatures if they're verified. They needed 505 for the second round. They got 609 and 610. And so they're angry about the Seagate, but Seagate is not on the actual recall petition. It's the violation of the Sunshine Law, which it's really a reputation. It's almost slander, in my opinion, because unless you have proof of it, it's a lie.
Right. Don't accuse somebody of breaking a law if you don't have proof. I 100% agree with that.
But it's your rule
in public office.
It's your law.
I
know you didn't vote on it,
that,
but
yeah.
It's a state statute.
I've been in since Hurricane Ian, so I have.
All right.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at it and happy to make sure that we're not wasting our time, because it sounds like that's what it is. This is a situation where there's a few built-in opponents to these political officials, and they're just using any rule they can without proof to just waste time and waste resources. And if that's the case, then we need to look into changing that.
All right. Thank you. All right, dear, do you want to start down the list of the first question? Yes, you may. You're going to have to come over, though, so the people.
Yeah, you got to come over.
Yeah, I need people that are watching to hear the.
Yeah, no, we have people on here, and so they need to be able to hear it.
Yeah, so come on down. Come on down.
What is your background?
Yeah, are you a lawyer?
Yeah, so my background, I grew up here in Fort Myers, went to Fort Myers High School, came back after law school to work in the state attorney's office and worked there for 7 years, and then got into personal injury work, and that's my full-time job now. Actually, I work at a Lawyer Roland, and we do a fishing tournament here in October every single year. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
So that's my
Did
background.
Did he rope you into this?
No, and my wife is still a prosecutor, still works at the state attorney's office. She went to Fort Myers High. Her father did. Her grandfather did. Her grandfather actually owned a packing house here in Fort Myers Beach, just over the bridge, 80 years ago. So we got a lot of history here, not just in Lee County, but specifically Fort Myers Beach. So my kids are 4th generation Lee County residents.
Don't run for office.
I'm doing it so they don't have to.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. So 2 questions. A, is there still time to sign the petition one way or another? And B, if there is, where do you sign it, or how do you go about signing it?
Well, I can answer that for you real quick. No, there's no time left to sign the petition. It's already been submitted to the Lee County Elections Office, and they are verifying the signatures. And if they are verified, the next step would be a special election within 30 and 60 days. So
And how many signatures are needed in this specific instance?
Second round, they needed 505, and they got 609.
It would be interesting is if because I don't, there are recall elections that take place around the state of Florida, and
They
now
fail.
now that I'm thinking about it, there's oftentimes a lot of people that are happy with what's going on, but a very small number of people are needed in order to basically cause chaos. What would be interesting is if the opposing side had the opportunity to collect 505 signatures and cancel out the recall, just to basically say, look, there's enough that support where we're at. We don't want the recall, because there's not a balance right there, and I think that would be something that would be worth
Well, I
looking
think
into.
that's going to come down when they do the election, because
Right.
it's going to say, I do recall or I don't.
You see, I think part of the challenge that John and Karen are going to have, if it does go there, is that people that are against Seagate are motivated to vote in this special election. I don't know if the other people are that motivated to vote one way or another. I think they're ambivalent about, they're not in favor of Seagate. That's what I think. I think anyway, it doesn't matter what I think, because I don't have a vote, but I just think that these people are super motivated about that building. And I guess we'll see whether or not they can muster enough to say if the vote fails. But I mean, when you have 3,500 registered voters and you have over 600, I mean, how many?
You said you were going to let it go.
No, John, how many votes did you win by in the election? I mean, that they only win by hundreds on the beach because there's so few voters.
Right. So my district has 540,000 people. The last election I had 150,000 voters
showed up.
support me.
Okay. And you won with that?
Yeah.
What was the second place?
I think my opponent had maybe 75.
Yeah. So
it was 2-1.
People should be jailed if they don't vote. I just think that it should be required that you go to that you have to vote, and maybe they extend it to 3 days or something. But I know we're getting off the topic, so go ahead, dear. Start with the first one.
So the town after Ian, now we're going to have a sharp turn here. The town after Ian received a bridge loan. I think it was 11 million to keep the government running and provide those services and do what they needed to do. What are the chances that bridge loan would be forgiven?
I think that's a great idea. I like the idea of forgiving the bridge loan. Also, when we call it a bridge loan, because of the destruction from Hurricane Ian, some people think it's a loan for the bridge because there were so many bridges that were damaged. We actually got a lot of money.
I don't think I've ever heard someone
I don't
made
think
that.
so.
But
Yeah.
your point's well taken.
We got a lot of money from the state to actually repair the Sanibel Causeway, and then of course the Matt Lachey Bridge. Those were largely taken care of. I actually got that appropriation my first session. I think it was $50 million for the Sanibel Causeway. So those were actually loans, and then we had to do a special appropriation to get it done. I'd be happy to work on that to get that done, because the bridge loan is a great idea, but ultimately it's a lot of money that has to be paid back for damage that you guys took the brunt of.
Yeah, and
out
they're
here on the island.
Yeah.
and they're considering a 26% increase in the millage based on that bridge loan that they think they have to pay back. So knowing not that they don't have to pay it back would, I think, help them. But maybe they have to pay it back, and that's just tough noodles. I mean, you got the money for a reason, and maybe you should pay it back. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't pay it back, but not knowing is the thing.
And so the idea for the bridge loans, and I know the mayor from Sanibel, former mayor from Sanibel, from Hurricane Ian, Holly Smith,
Consider her the mayor.
Yeah, exactly.
We will always consider her the mayor.
Could help me out on this as well. But the original idea was this: the houses are destroyed. We're losing our taxes, which is a major source of revenue for any city, for the county, for the cities. So we have to catch up with that money somewhere, just so we can keep paying our bills on top of the improvements that we have to make and the construction that we have to partake in while there's nobody living in those houses. So a massive amount of your tax base was wiped off the rolls, or wiped off the island, completely gone. So the bridge loan was, hey, let's give them the money now when the houses get constructed, when the development comes back. In every place we've ever seen, and you guys are seeing it here in Fort Myers Beach, the houses that are replacing the houses that were washed away are much more expensive. So the tax roll, and there's no homestead exemptions locked into those, because largely the people who lived in the older, smaller houses can't afford the giant big houses that are being built on their property. So there's no homestead exemptions that are being carried through from the 1970s or 1980s. So the tax rolls are going to be flowing with money. So the idea of the bridge loan was to get you through that crucial, 5 to 10 year period, and so you're back to not just full capacity, but extra capacity as far as your density goes, and as far as evaluation of the property.
So two quick questions to end that. Are you in favor of them having to pay it back, or would you like to see them have it forgiven?
What politician would say that one of one of the jewels of their district should have to pay any additional money after getting hit by
Fair enough.
a Category 5 hurricane. So I'm in favor of getting it forgiven. It's just a matter of convincing everybody else in Tallahassee that that's where their priority should
What are
be.
the chances of the rest of Tallahassee going along with your plan?
So going back to the sunshine, I got to do a lot of conversations behind closed doors to get money to come back.
So you brought
All
up
right.
brought up taxes.
That was the next question. You
Well,
just
we're
went
going
right
back-
into it. Oh, so you're taking this
We'll
one?
go back and
All
forth.
right,
Like
all
we'll
right,
share. We'll
all
share.
right.
We'll
Go
share
ahead.
Jonathan today.
All right.
So the Governor DeSantis has been big on trying to talk about forgiving property taxes, and I kind of laughed at it the first time I heard it because I mean that's a lot of money. Do you support forgiving property taxes, and then how do you? Where does the money come from when you just wash that clean?
So I was the only one that carried a bill this year to study the elimination of property taxes. I did it for one major reason. Ever since I got elected, we know we had that insurance crisis that had kind of been coming to a head leading up to Hurricane Ian, and of course, the insurance companies after Hurricane Ian were threatening to leave the state of Florida. They said, "Look, without massive changes, we just can't afford to do business here, so we're going to take off." So we did some very drastic things in legislation. One, which was moving forward from Hurricane Ian, so nobody affected by Hurricane Ian would be affected by this, was, hey, insurance companies, if you're wrong and someone goes to court and sues you and they win and you're wrong, you don't know their attorney's fees. For a living, I'm a full-time personal injury lawyer and I fight insurance companies for a living. I've handled hurricane cases. I don't like that idea. I think it's just bad. But in the short run, if it didn't affect Hurricane Ian and it kept the insurance companies here in Florida long enough to pay back the people in my district who were leveled by Hurricane Ian, I was for helping however we could. But people kept saying, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about the cost of living? And well, I mean, with supply and demand, that drives the major cost of your home or the mortgage that you're paying. Property insurance is a major component, but there was nothing else we could really do to give insurance companies a reason to stay here. We basically already said you can be wrong with no ramifications. So number 3, I looked at the escrow and looked, hey, what's everybody paying? Everybody wants to complain about HOAs, but you have a choice to live in an HOA or not live in an HOA. But what about the property taxes? And I started to look and see where property taxes were before COVID and where they are now. The cost of home ownership, or the cost of owning a home, which means the value of your house, is through the roof. So what have the local governments across the state, cities, counties, school districts, what have they been doing to meet us in the legislature with helping with the affordability of home ownership? And so I said, hey, you know what? Let's look at the elimination of property taxes. Let's get some economists to come down and just look and see what Florida would look like if we no longer use property taxes, but we use some other source of revenue. I don't think that we need to have 2 separate conversations wrapped into one. We don't need to talk about eliminate property taxes and all the revenue that comes with it. My conversations with property taxes say, hey, if we're going to get rid of property taxes, how can we replace revenue neutral? Not taxes go up, not taxes go down. How can we have just a simple economics discussion about how we can eliminate property taxes?
So
we were
what would
having
be
this-
the alternatives?
So some of the
then?
alternatives
Yeah.
that I've heard, of course, consumption tax. So you have the sales tax idea, which the state of Florida has a 6% sales tax. It raises about $50 billion a year. Property taxes, not just the ad valorem property taxes. So based on the value of your property, from residential, commercial, industrial, agriculture, all the classes raise $55 billion a year.
So
if
you're
you were
talking
gonna-
about doubling.
So
the
if you were
sales
going to
tax.
completely eliminate, if somebody want to have that discussion, to completely eliminate all property tax and the property appraisers around the state of Florida charge us, when you add up all 67 counties, $500 million just to come up with a number. Their sole job is to come up with an evaluation on a piece of property just so it can be taxed. Your bank isn't going to loan you money based on that number. No one's going to say, hey, I'm going to buy your house based on the number the property appraiser came up with. It does zero economic good. It's simply to come up with a number to tax you. We spend $500 million every single year in the state of Florida to come up with that number. So if you got rid of all property taxes that were based on value, you could get rid of the property appraiser's office and save $500 million.
I like Matt Caldwell.
I love Matt Caldwell too. And Matt will have these conversations. He's more libertarian minded than I am. He'll have these conversations. And if there's not a single person in his
He'd
office,
land somewhere else. Don't worry.
yeah,
No doubt.
because he's an actual property appraiser.
Yeah.
He could go make
So-
way more money working for.
So, Jonathan, are you-
So
banks
then
and
that
mortgage
would be a
companies.
12%. So you would double
so in
the
that
sales
situation,
tax?
yeah, that would be 12%. And that's if you're getting rid of all all property taxes, homestead, non-homestead residential, hotel property taxes that they pay, restaurant property taxes that they pay, grocery store property taxes, everything.
Mhm.
So I haven't heard a whole lot of people say that's something that we want to bite off in one chunk right now. So what you could do is something smaller. You could say, hey, let's just focus on residential, or let's focus on homestead residential. I've even heard discussions that focus on homestead residential for senior citizens who are veterans who own their house outright, and like that, you get so nuanced with
Right.
those.
So what are the chances
and
this
we don't
happens?
need to do it.
What are-
There's a big chance that something big happens
that the property taxes in some form goes away.
for homestead properties.
What do you get from your colleagues when you're violating the Sunshine Law in Tallahassee?
I don't violate the Sunshine Law.
I know, I'm joking because there is none. No,
So I
I didn't
also
get to
was-
finish my
all right, Well, I
question.
just want to ask this.
Can I just
I was
finish one-
reading too that there was some talk about shifting that tax to income tax, a state income tax. Is
No,
that's
there's-
never going to happen?
No, so whatever we do, if we're going to come in and tell the counties and the cities, hey, you have to cut out this revenue source, it has to be done in the Constitution. So it would have to go to the ballot. The voters would have to decide on it. So we're going to figure out something. There's tons of polling that's already going on. I keep getting phone calls from other legislators that are doing their own polling, saying, man, this is a big deal. Everybody wants this. So we have to come up with, once we narrow it down to a handful of ideas that seem practical, you're going to see so much information about it so that we can start getting some accurate polling. Because whatever we put on the ballot, it has to get 60% of the vote in order to actually go into the Constitution. Now there is something else I didn't mention either. Some people just want predictability. I'm happy with paying a property tax on my homestead. Well, charge me up front. When I go buy a car, that 6% sales tax is charged up front and I get financing for the full price of the car. Well, if I'm going to pay an upfront sales tax on my house, X percent, make it sound crazy. 2% on $1 million house is $20,000. Well, charge me that up front. Let me roll that into the financing of the house. But now my house is predictable. I know what my payment's going to be year in and year out, with the only variable being property insurance. I think that's what people want. We want to know what we need going in. And that's what I learned in my first year as a legislator, when constituents were calling about the rising cost of home ownership, specifically property taxes or property insurance. They said, I can't plan for this. So there's a way to plan for it without leaving the counties or the cities or the districts holding the bag.
Yeah, you get your everybody's getting their trim notice this week, and it's like you're afraid to open it because you should know by the time that arrives.
And you could honestly give homeowners the option. Say, do you want to be on a year to year where we evaluate you year to year, or are you going to be? Is this your forever home? You're going to be here. You just bought this to retire in. You're going to be here for 30 years, and then you can do a one-time lump sum and just get it off your back. But give people the option. So if you're flipping houses, you're in the business of flipping houses, maybe you don't want to pay that one big chunk up front, and you say, look, kind of like an adjustable rate mortgage. Give me the low payment. I'll make the annual payments for taxes, but I'm going to have this house remodeled and sold in the next 2 years. I don't want to pay the big lump sum. So I think giving people options, letting our local government set those options, but just saying, look, if you're going to do a property tax, it has to be done this way. If you're going to completely eliminate it, great. Here's the authority to do some other tax, because we do cap their taxes. Cities and counties can't just come in and say, here's a 10% sales tax. It'd be bad for them, but they also can't do that because we've told them in Tallahassee that they can't do that.
What is the chances that property taxes go away in the next couple of years?
All property taxes, man, I would love that. That would be a dream. But right now it's a dream. I don't see all property taxes going away, but I think it makes a ton of economic sense.
Coming.
But for residential homesteaded property, I think that there's slightly greater than a 50-50 chance of complete elimination.
Okay. So I want to ask you about this. I kind of get the feeling sometimes that the state legislature doesn't want municipalities to have as much control over their municipalities as they do. They start to pick and nitpick about home rule when you get involved in the vacation rentals, and you got Senate Bill 250, then 180, and the whole thing. And it just seems like you don't have a lot of confidence in local municipalities.
Right. We want to trust our local municipalities, and man, we do a great job here in Southwest Florida, Lee County specifically. I don't want to say the city of Naples, because that was the whole reason that I ran SB 250 3 years ago. The city of Naples, after many of their residents, they had water damage in their houses. They didn't have Noah's flood coming over their houses like we did in Fort Myers Beach, but they had water damage, and many of the houses had to be completely, the 50-50 rule came into effect. And so the houses had to be demolished and then rebuilt. The city of Naples, immediately after the hurricane, said, now's the time for us to change our density. Now's the time for us to change the outlook of our community and the way our community looks. And we're going to say, we're not going to approve any permits to rebuild structures the way they were built. So all of a sudden, the city of Naples, instead of being a good government and helping their people in their biggest time of need, said, we're not going to let you rebuild right now. And if you do rebuild down the road, we're changing the rules midstream, and we're going to force you to build a smaller house. We're going to force you to build something that's completely different than what you lived in. Now, you want to talk about opportunity to speak out to your city or local government. Everybody, look, that's a zoning change. That there's laws to change zoning. There's laws to change density. There's a way to do it. You shouldn't do it, though, when people can't even get to the city council meetings to have their voices heard because they're too busy trying to rebuild their house. They're too busy trying to find their clothes so they can put them on to then go. They're too busy trying to replace their car because their car was destroyed in the floodwaters. That's not the time. That's when government should be doing what they were doing here, what Dan Allers was doing here on Fort Myers Beach, helping, serving, not getting in the way of individuals in the lives.
Fair enough on that. But when it comes to the vacation rentals, it almost seems like you guys want to allow those businesses to operate however they want to operate. Like if the Fort Myers Beach folks wanted to manipulate their rules a little, bad word, but change their rules a little bit, and their grandfathered clause just snaps out of reality and the state rules kick in. Why do you meddle in the vacation rentals?
I don't think there's a single legislator in Tallahassee that wanted to meddle in that legislation for the sake of it. They were hearing a lot of complaints from their communities and their constituents all over the state. And then they were hearing a lot of complaints about their solutions from people who were interested in renting out their houses from all over the state. And it was just one of those situations where there were a lot of people that were very vocal on both sides. They all made really good arguments. One about the way their community is zoned, the way that their neighborhoods should look and sound after the streetlights come on. And then of course people say, well, this is my property. And if you're going to stand up for property rights, you got to let me do what I want with my property. So that was a very, very, very difficult discussion. Not unlike the Uber fights that happened a few years ago when Uber came out and basically took all the taxi companies and said, we're not going to follow the law. We're just going to come in here and pick people up and drop people off. And millions of crimes were committed across the state of Florida because Uber was engaging in law breaking. But eventually so many people, there was so much demand for it that we were kind of stuck. And this was, again, before I got into Tallahassee, the legislature was kind of stuck. They're like, look, we can't put everybody in jail who's using Uber. We can't put everybody in jail who's driving for Uber. So we got to figure out the best way to manage this. And I think that's what ended up happening with the vacation rentals.
Okay. Do you want to jump to another question?
You were talking a little bit ago about wanting to keep insurance companies here, and clearly that is important. What about doing something for the people who have legitimate claims that still struggled for a long time if they got something or didn't get something? What about what can you do? What can the legislature do to kind of make companies, responsible to do what they need to do without dragging people that have already been kicked down, through the mud?
Yeah, and that's why I was adamant about making sure that those who were impacted by Hurricane Ian in our community, who had been paying their premiums based on the actuary analysis that if the insurance company lost, the insurance company would have to pay attorney's fees. Those individuals here in Southwest Florida who made claims based on damage from Hurricane Ian have the ability to hire a lawyer and go and have their case heard in court. And when they prevail, the insurance company has to pay their attorney's fees. So that's actually just being litigated. There's tons of Hurricane Ian cases that are still going to court. And that's the hammer. That's how you get an insurance company to do the right thing. Is if you're off by one penny, if you're off by $1, then and you go to court, then you pay all the attorney's fees. So if the demand is for $1 more than what you're offering, make that $1 payment and be done with the case, and let these people who paid you thousands and thousands of dollars every year for years to go on about their lives. There always has to be accountability in the system. There's been a lot of there's a lot of hate for trial lawyers in Tallahassee, probably because there's one big trial lawyer that is focusing on tons and tons of social issues every time he gets an opportunity to get involved in politics.
Who's that?
I forget his name. He owns, is it the largest law firm? I'm the largest attorney. And
You mean
Fort Myers,
size-wise? Is
but
that what
he-
you're saying?
Yeah, he has the largest. So
You
Are
know.
you talking
So-
about Morgan and Morgan?
yeah, so
Oh.
he gets wrapped up with a lot of social issues, and it upsets a lot of people in Tallahassee. And so a lot of people in Tallahassee have a bad taste in their mouth when they're dealing with trial lawyers. And there's plenty of good conservative Republican trial lawyers like myself out there that just want to help people and don't want to get wrapped up in a lot of those policies that he gets wrapped up in. But when they see insurance companies losing to personal injury attorneys and having to pay personal injury attorneys or insurance attorneys their legal fees, a lot of legislators think that money is going to go to fight them at the next election, and I think that's why there's this built-in hate. But if you're not going to hold an insurance company accountable in a courtroom, the other option, if you still believe in accountability, which I think we all do, is to hold them accountable in the bureaucracy. Well, the problem is I'm a Republican. I don't think bureaucracies should be really, really big. I think bureaucracies, when they tend to get too much power, get out of touch. Most of the decisions, if we moved insurance disputes out of the courtrooms here, they go to Tallahassee. When's the last time anyone here has been to Tallahassee?
I don't even know how to get
Exactly. It's a 400-mile drive each way. No one from here is leaving beautiful Southwest Florida to go to Tallahassee. So those people in Tallahassee don't come down here. We don't go up there, except for me and your representative, Adam Botana, because not a whole lot of people like it, but they're out of touch. So I don't think that the solution is removing disputes from a courtroom and putting them in front of a bureaucrat in Tallahassee. I don't think that that's going to speed anything up. And I don't think that you're going to get someone in Tallahassee to see things the way you see them down here in Southwest Florida.
All right, a couple of rapid fire things. You built, I think you built the Sanibel Bridge in like 48 hours or something. You repaired it.
That was Matt Lachey. Yes.
Okay. Well, the Sanibel Bridge was like quick. I mean, you got to connect it, and yet the pier is like it's like a 30-year project, Jonathan. I mean, what is the deal with why it takes so long? Like, can you do something? Can you pull some strings? Like, it's like the most iconic thing in Southwest Florida. And it's like who's running the Army Corps of Engineers? I mean, what is the deal with that?
I'm happy to fight with you guys. If there's delays, if there's anything I can do, let me know. That pier right there means a lot to me. When I was in high school, my friend, his uncle owned a little hotel right across the street. So we'd park there, and then we'd take our fishing poles and we go down to the end of the pier. I spent a lot of Friday and Saturday and Sunday nights on that fishing pier. So it means a lot to me. The Army Corps is the Army Corps. And that's another example of why we don't want bureaucrats figuring things out for us, because once you get in that bureaucracy, things slow down. I like a court system. I went to law school. I trained. I got comfortable in the courtroom. I'm much more comfortable with a jury of my peers making decisions for my client than I am for the Army Corps of Engineers. Nobody even knows who their boss is.
Well, but the Army Corps of Engineers had to be involved in the Sanibel Bridge. I mean, so that got worked out pretty quickly.
Did they?
There was a lot of asking forgiveness, not permission, to get things done. Yeah, FDOT was involved, and of course, and even Matt Lachey, the residents in Pine Island were actually getting ready to repair the bridge themselves until FDOT said, "Okay, we'll do it," because they all have the equipment out there, and so they're the same thing. I mean, look, we're resilient people. Southwest Florida, we may have a climate that looks like we're like from Palm Beach or something, but I don't want to say we're a bunch of rednecks in a bad.
Where are you going with this?
But mentally, we don't need the government to solve our problems.
100%,
and
100%.
I try to convey that to Tallahassee a lot of times. The Army Corps, again, the Army Corps is wrapped up with so many bureaucracies. They can't get things done. If you want to talk about the clean water, and Governor DeSantis in 2018, when he, remember drones weren't just invented, but drones became popular. So somebody flew a drone out over top of the Caloosahatchee River by the Sanibel Lighthouse and saw the discharges. And that came out right before Governor DeSantis won the Republican primary against Adam Putnam in 2018. Governor DeSantis said, and he won overwhelmingly. It was fairly even split throughout the state of Florida in the Republican primary for him versus Putnam. But Lee County supported DeSantis by 2/3 in the Republican primary because of that one specific issue. So Governor DeSantis came in and did what no other Republican governor had done ever and said, we're going to fix this water discharge issue. We're going to fix the Everglades. And we took money out of the state reserves and we funded, we fast tracked all those Army Corps projects. So the C-43 was just opened up out there in Hendry County. It's the biggest thing to clean our water that's ever been done in Southwest Florida, or to the benefit of Southwest Florida. Governor DeSantis came in and got it done in 7 years, and it wasn't even beginning to be funded. It was so far down on the list of projects. We got the Herbert Hoover Dike finished up, and multiple other projects north of the lake and south of the lake to clean up our water. So that was just a great example of, hey, we got our own money. And you saw that with the immigration fight, whether it was flying illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, or whether it was opening up Alligator Alcatraz. The state of Florida doesn't wait for permission from the federal government. We do the right thing. We tell the federal government we're gonna help them. We're goal oriented. We're gonna help them get their projects done faster. Just pay us back when you get around to it. But we can't wait for the money anymore.
Yeah, and so a couple other. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
of
ahead.
the 75-ish projects that were originally years and years and years ago, where are we on that? Where is on the Everglades restoration? You've got C-43 is done.
Still taking forever. I mean, those projects have taken forever, but
Yeah. So what
Governor
ended up happening?
DeSantis-
Right. So what ended up happening was everybody came in with a great idea. Jeb Bush had great ideas. Charlie Crist had great ideas. Rick Scott had great ideas, but nobody was actually getting them done. And so by the time everybody has an idea, it gets funded a little bit, it gets started a little bit, but then nothing ends up happening. So we finally said, look, let's stop with the new projects. Let's just start funding what's already been done.
Are you in favor of the rock mine? Real quick, yes or no? The rock mine?
I don't need the rocks over there.
All right, gotcha. You got rocks here. You don't need rocks over there. So a couple of other quick things before we get to the fishing tournament, which is really the main reason you're here. But you don't get, you got so much great information that people want to know about.
You can have me on more than once a year too.
Yeah, we could.
Okay, that's a great point. So, are you going to run for Byron Donald's seat in the House of Representatives?
I've talked with my wife about that. We got 3 little kids. You can see these kids. I don't want to
It was
leave.
a yes or no question.
Yeah.
Wait.
No.
No.
He said yes. I'm going to snip that part out.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not running for Byron Donald's seat.
Really?
I know there's
You're not even going to think hard about it.
I've upset a lot of people. I've thought hard about it. My wife, I mean, look, Byron Donalds has 3 kids. I have 3 kids. My wife and Byron's wife, Erica, talked about it for a couple hours.
Gotcha.
The life in Tallahassee with 3 kids versus life in DC with 3 kids. It's a huge commitment to pull them out of their life or to take me out of their life.
Gotcha.
I would obviously be coming back to Southwest Florida a lot, but missing basically everything during the week, 30 weeks a year.
Yeah. How old are you?
That's a big commitment. 43.
So if something in the
got
future
plenty
could
of
come
time.
up when they are out of the house or something, right? I mean, you're not an old man like me.
Yeah. Look, I just started my time in Tallahassee and frankly, I can get a lot done.
How long are the Senate seats? 4 or 6?
They're 4-year seats, but I have a 10-year opportunity to serve.
Okay.
I would be termed after my last term in office in 2032.
And so they'll be graduating.
The oldest will be 14.
I got you. So who's going to be the next governor?
Byron Donalds is the only one that I think is going to be the next governor based on what I see right now.
So are you endorsing him on this show?
I'm not endorsing anybody on the show.
But who's a possible other candidate?
See, now he's like, I'm never
You
coming
think-
back on this damn
No,
show
do you think-
again.
Those are good questions.
Do you think Casey DeSantis will run?
I don't know if Casey's going to run. She's phenomenal. She's done a tremendous job. I can't think of a more effective first lady the state of Florida has had. And maybe it's just because there were so many issues that had to be dealt with by the governor in the state of Florida. She's been a phenomenal compliment to Governor DeSantis. I mean, he's so good in so many things and his perceived weaknesses. She's perfect as far as balancing him out. So they've worked together great as a team, and they're going to do great things, whatever they do next.
What do you think DeSantis will do next?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was going to be. I really thought he was going to be the president until he was a candidate, and he just he just looked so stiff as a candidate. It didn't work as a candidate. And then, of course, Trump came along and he just crushes everybody. It's not a national politics show, but I just thought, I thought he had a chance when he announced it, but he had no chance when
I was talking to Congressman Donalds a couple weeks ago about this timeline, right before Congressman Donalds endorsed Donald Trump. Donald Trump was, I think in most people's minds, like just out of it. People were supporters of his. Look, he lost in 2020. As the president, how was he going to win in 2024 if he did it again? I think there were just a lot of questions. And the second he got indicted and the second he got arrested, it just lit a fire in everybody who said that, Republican or Democrat, said this is not right. And that's when Byron Donalds actually endorsed the president to run for re-election.
He was quick to do it.
I think that was a sentiment that was shared by millions of Republicans and NPAs across the country.
All right. So the real reason you're here is not to listen to us ask you a million questions, but you've been very supportive of the fishing tournament for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it's coming up again. What number is it? And just tell us all about it.
I don't know what number it is. Okay. If it's the 100th in a row, probably not the 100th annual fishing tournament. This is the Mothers Against Drunk Driving fishing tournament, Fish Like Mad. It's sponsored by my law firm, Aloya Rowland, Lubell and Morgan in Fort Myers. And we do this fishing tournament because, well, first of all, fishing is great down here. Doing a tournament down here, especially, it's actually right across the street at Snug Harbor is where we do the weigh-ins, where we do the captain's dinner the night before. So it's right here in the heart of Fort Myers Beach. And we try to bring as many people from Southwest Florida here, but also the cause. The cause isn't just catching fish. The cause is keeping our roads safe. Year after year, even in Florida, thousands of people die from drunk drivers. And it's an entirely preventable offense. Our firm deals with those types of cases on a all too regular basis. When I started off at the state attorney's office, I dealt with DUI cases. And as I stayed there a year, 2 years into it, I was handling DUI manslaughter cases, vehicular homicide cases. And it's sad to see the lives that are destroyed because of the bad decisions. There's no excuses now. Back, 15 years ago, I understand if you didn't want to get into a taxi because it smelled bad, it was late, it was super expensive. Now you have an Uber that can pick you up for $15-20, take you wherever you need to go in Lee County. There's no excuses to drive drunk anymore, but bringing awareness to that problem and then also uniting our community behind the solutions, I think is I can't think of a better reason to have a fishing tournament here on Fort Myers Beach.
I don't think you said the date.
It's October 24th and 25th.
And people can go online. Is there a website to sign up? And
yes, you can go to our website, lawdefined.com. And you can also go to our social media, and we have all the information to sign up for the fishing tournament there.
And so it's going to be, how many people in a boat, like that.
Yeah. It'll have all that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll share that on our Facebook page and on our website in our news story. And that's coming up in October. And
yeah, October 24th and 25th. So it's a Friday night here, kickoff, and the fishing is on the 25th, and the weigh-in is after the fishing the night of the 25th.
This term that you're in now expires when?
It expires.
When does your term expire?
My term expires. Thank you for reelecting me last year.
Okay.
My term expires in 2028.
Cool. Anything else you want to share with our folks that are watching?
No, reach out if you have issues, with your insurance companies. If there's issues with not your local government's great. Anything that I can help on the state government, feel free to reach out to my Senate office, and I'm happy to help you and help you in your recovery and help you to maximize whether it's your time here or your retirement here in Southwest Florida. This is a great place to be, and I want to make it even better.
And how do they reach your office? Is there a website or an email address you want to?
So the Senate office, you can go to the Florida Senate website, and you can find all the information you need under me, Jonathan Martin. You can also go to the law firm website for those legal issues, lawdefined.com. You have all the information that you need there as well.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we will have you on more than once a year.
Thank you for being flexible and getting here.
And I apologize for the time screw up. So
sorry about
big
that.
hand for Jonathan Martin, everybody. You're a senator. Yeah, you don't want to face it. That was perfect. Thank you. All right. I'm going to turn those two off, and I'm going to read a couple ads there before we have Holly Smith on. Thank you, Jonathan, very much. Thank you so much for coming and for bringing your boys there. And before we have Holly Smith on, who is now the president of the Florida League of Cities and also the vice mayor of Sanibel, I want to tell you about a couple of great businesses here on Fort Myers Beach, the Island Pancake House, where they have ice cold air conditioning, and they serve breakfast and lunch. They're open 7 days a week from 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., and they'll stay open later if you just want to sit there and chat with them, because they're those kinds of people. They are located over in the Seagrape Plaza. They're locally owned and operated, and they will, if you want an egg white omelet with mushrooms and onions and cheese or anything special, just tell them. They'll make any kind of breakfast that you want them to make. So the Island Pancake House, open for business with ice cold air conditioning over in the Seagrape Plaza. Michael Stewart is also one of our sponsors. He's a structural engineer. He can design any structure, residential or commercial. And he also designs mechanical, electrical, plumbing. If you want your house to stand up straight without falling down on Estero Boulevard so everybody can see how it fell down because you called the wrong person, you want to call Michael Stewart right now. He's sitting in his nice air-conditioned house or car, and he's waiting for you to call. His phone number is 239-292-7670. 239-292-7670. You can also email him at mstewart@mstewartpe.com, and he's on Facebook. If you go on Facebook and you follow Michael Stewart, you'll be able to see the cool videos he does. Him and Albert do great videos where you can see their work. Those two guys, I mean, if you only call those two guys, you're going to live in the coolest. I mean, there are other people too. I'm not trying to exclude everybody. Like yesterday, we were going to have Mark Stevens on from Stevens Construction until all my equipment fell in the water. But we have rescheduled Mark for September the 6th. So he will be on September the 6th. And also Linda Miller will be coming on, I think, next week. She's opening up the farmers market again. There's going to be two farmers markets again. It's going to be here up the street. It's also going to be at Santini Plaza, and they're working on one for Times Square. So we'll keep you posted on all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, our second guest, and we apologize for making her wait so long, but we could have done 2 hours with Jonathan. Man, put your microphone on, dear Lauren.
Well, I don't know what the thing is.
Yeah.
Yes. I assured her.
Great information.
I assured her we're going to give her due time to come.
I just was worried that she had somewhere else to be.
I know.
She's out of here. So she came
I don't
early.
know if she ate her breakfast, didn't eat her breakfast.
Yeah.
The kids ate the breakfast.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for the former mayor, the vice mayor of Sanibel, and also now the president of the Florida League of Cities. And we're about to find out what the hell the Florida League of Cities is.
Well, for settle in, I've got 2 hours.
All right, cool.
And with Jonathan, with Senator
He's great.
Martin,
He's
I
great.
mean, we get along so well and we work very well together. And we've got a great senator that is willing to listen to us, to discuss issues and try to find bills that are going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate him being here. I would have loved to sit here for a point, not counterpoint, but those are discussions that we're going to have together to make sure whatever we come up with works for everyone.
Yeah.
That we're not writing bills for just somebody, some bad municipality that did the wrong thing. And then all of a
Right.
sudden,
Don't-
411 cities are paying for that.
Don't jump ahead, Holly. Don't jump
Okay.
ahead here. The first thing we need to talk about is
Well, let me just say that
holy
maybe
moly.
that's how we'll do the next show. Is we can just have you both
Yes.
on and do a
Now that
point
he said,
counterpoint.
Well, it's not even a point counterpoint
no,
because we
just
really
a collaborative
Yeah.
conversation.
And we
So-
get to do that all the time. And although they're in session for just a short amount of time, we're all working 365 days a year. So although they're
Yeah.
up there, sometimes the off season is the time to be discussing the issues.
So the first question before we get to the major
sir.
issues is the Sanibel City Council. I was watching last week. Finally got back into your city hall, which the town of Fort Myers, I think, is going to be in their new city hall on September 10th if everything goes according to plan. At least that's what they're announcing. The first meeting will be on the 11th for the budget. But it's been forever for you guys too that you're operating out of a different building.
It has been. We were at Big Arts and very fortunate to have that space. But also the priorities were different for our council. Maybe the priority wasn't getting back into our chambers. The priority was a lot of other issues that we were dealing with that our citizens needed to have attended to. So staff had to be diverted to a lot of the things that we've been working on post Ian. So it's okay. I'm glad to be home. It was costly for us to be at the other location, but we are finally home and
Cool.
it's good to be home. It's just another success that we're showing.
So go ahead.
I was just going to ask, and you probably are going to yell at me for jumping ahead, but we kind of know how the rebuild is going here on Fort Myers Beach. How's it going over there?
I think that based on what we looked at, all of us after September 28th, when we looked at it September 29th to see what we were really facing, which many people still don't have the idea unless you really lived here and were on the ground. Right now, our accommodations, we're at 66% of our accommodations being returned, and those are in the same locations that they were before. Our restaurant services, we are at 74%. And those are again at the locations that they were, or possibly some of those restaurateurs moved to a different location. And our retail is at 69% right now. So we're really excited about those numbers. And we are working real hard to make sure the world knows that, to come visit us. Same with Fort Myers Beach. I think that we really need to be marketing both of our locations. We're a sister of Fort Myers Beach. We're a sister to Captiva. We all face the same, and we need to work together to make sure the world knows so we can continue to grow, continue to get back. And after 3 hurricanes, it was tough having the confidence to come back. So I know a real exciting piece, a little bit of Bailey's opened on Rabbit Road. And, for those of you that know the history of Bailey's on our island, for them to open the little bit of Bailey's, not the big shopping center, was a huge boost to people's psyche to say, you know what, we're back, come on back. Because you do have to have an ROI on that to be able to open.
And I remember going there with you right after the hurricane and going through the building. I mean, it was just crazy to go over to Sanibel after the storm. I mean, crazy here and there to just see the level of devastation and debris. So kudos to you guys for coming back with those numbers. And I was reading that I think it's August 30th. There's going to be an event, like a shopping event. So people are going to be going all over the island, like passport style. I think I saw it at the chamber. And I was like, I think they said there's a lot of shops open, a lot of shops and a lot of participation. So what do you attribute the recovery to? I'm sure there's many things, but
it's easy. It's one word. It's community. It's belief in the community, just like you all are doing out here. It's the people that just say, you know what? I believe in where we are. We live in paradise. Our beaches are what bring everybody from around the world. They literally do, both Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, all the beaches in Southwest Florida. So our community, both the new ones, the new demographic that is coming in, are saying, you know what? We know we're going to get to the other side, and we know we're going to be better than ever every single day. And I could not be more proud, as hard as it's been, getting hit not one time, but then even the storms offshore, Helene and Milton, 2 and 3 times, to say, you know what? We still believe. So I think that is really the driving force of what happens, and everyone that works towards that goal. It's about community, and that's what we in our little small towns are all about.
Are you back now?
Hey, welcome back.
And I feel much better.
There we go.
I have like 5 bottles of water before, I come to the show.
TMI.
So, yeah, it's just water. So you asked about the rebuild, right? So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was, how in the world did you get that bridge rebuilt so quickly? And we're still waiting, like it's going to be 7 years before they rebuild a pier. I mean, what's the difference here?
Well, I think, and I'm going to take this, I'll talk to the pier separately.
Sure.
And that's Lee County. So I will tell you, with this causeway, just a week after the storm, I remember when our delegation was speaking over off of Bass Road, and I got a call from Congressman Donnell's office to say they're over there. And I went over there and I was listening to them, and I said, wow, everyone's talking about Sanibel and they haven't been there yet. And I said to then Chief of Staff James Utmeyer, who I've known for a while, a lot of their staff because of water quality. I said, I got to get in. We had talked to the governor on the phone.
You're the mayor at the time.
I was the mayor, yes. So, we had communications, but we were talking about ferry service, right? We didn't think that bridge would be built potentially for 8 to 10, 12 months. And the governor probably thought I was crazed, and I was. And I said, Governor, you need to come over. This was a Tuesday night after the storm. And I said, can we go right now? Because the next day was the Wednesday when we were opening up the island by boat for anyone to try to get over so people could get in, assess their homes, start to look at the damage, start to rebuild their lives. And they looked at me and said, well, I can't go right now in the evening, but we flew over in a Chinook the next morning with the governor, myself, 2 gunners out at the end, in with their legs down. It was crazy. And we landed, we got in Humvees. When we landed, I didn't know where we were on my own island on our own island, because I was at an area that we hadn't landed. We landed at the Sanibel school. And I thought we were on Fort Myers, somewhere in Fort Myers Beach. So it was crazy. So we ended up getting in Humvees.
We don't have a school here, by the way, but that's a different story.
Yeah. Okay.
We landed, got in the Humvees, and we went to another area that I had not been the push to. And what the governor saw was all of our electrical grid was down. It was a war zone. And as we got back on that Chinook, and he was, that man, disaster, he's got it. I mean, he no one can do disaster better.
You think if he didn't see what he saw, it wouldn't have been as quick?
Well, you know what? I will say, seeing what he saw, he understood the extent of the damage. And let's not look at the Gulfront homes. Let's look at what that community really is. It is not everyone that is high income. Those are generational homes, older people, younger families that he saw had no home, right? So he pulled me aside as we're getting back on, and he said, we've got to get that bridge built. That was a Wednesday. On that following Friday, he and his general, who was also on the ground with us, started digging that dirt. And 4 days later, we were watching them come across the causeway in less than 3 weeks. So what he did was get all the bureaucracy out of the way.
So should we have him flying a Chinook over the pier? Is that what the trick is? The whole thing? I mean,
well, you know what? I think that is a different conversation. And unfortunately, Fort Myers Beach and their council they're not respond. They don't own that pier. That is Lee County. So it could be Lee County that chooses, in my mind, to expedite that project or not, because you're right. Our lighthouse is our icon on Sanibel, and your pier is your icon here. So could there be a path forward? When you talk about the Army Corps of Engineer, we've got great connections all the way up to DC.
Yeah.
So I want to be careful where you're might be pushing some blame that it could be I'm not going to say blame, but don't look at one agency and think that's the one that drives it. I know Lee County has great relationships with the Army Corps of Engineer, but that icon would be huge for you and a huge boost to your citizens.
And there's other agencies involved in
so
that.
many.
So
many.
It's
But
not just the Army Corps.
We saw with our bridge.
Yeah.
You want to get that done, you can put your politics aside and get it done.
Just so everybody knows too, I did talk to David Mullica last week because we were talking about the boat ramp that they're putting in on Main Street, or they hope to put it on Main Street. And of course, I always ask him about the pier, and he did say he was working on something where he would call me on Monday or let me know on Monday. It sounded like he's trying to push up the timing thing. It doesn't make any sense to any of the county reps either that it's taking this long. It's not like they don't want it to be rebuilt. They obviously want it to be rebuilt, but I don't think they have any control over what's going on with the Army Corps of Engineers, which always seems to be the holdup. But he did say he would let us know if there was some new time frame for.
And I think Commissioner Mullica can certainly push that. So I don't ever say, I don't want to point fingers at other agencies, but I do know what you can get done when you have the desire to get done. And I think it's a real important economic driver, and also such a great boost emotionally to your people.
So the Florida League of Cities,
sir.
You were elected president a week or so ago, maybe not even that much, last week. What is the Florida League of Cities, so people that don't know what it is?
Well, and thank you for asking. And so the Florida League of Cities basically is the representation of all 411 municipalities which partake in the Florida League of Cities. And I will say there might be 410. And what they do and have been doing for 104 years, as we know, all local decisions are best made locally. And we know our communities better than anyone else. Every community is different. So every year we've got our legislature that, might put up 1,600 bills, something like that. You never know how many are going to be there. And what they look at is, for one, and this is one piece of what they do, is look at what those bills and what that legislation will mean to all of our municipalities. And then we work towards making that legislation right for all of us. As I said in the beginning, you don't want a bill that some legislature has brought in because he had a problem in his jurisdiction. And then all of a sudden you blanket that for all 411 cities, and you preempt the laws that we all have in place because of the different communities we live in. So the Florida League watches that. There's an insurance arm. I mean, they were our turnkey for after Ian. FMIT is who we use. And when people said, how is little Sanibel and how's Fort Myers Beach even going to make it financially, we weren't alone. We had an army behind us, and that was the Florida League of Cities. So I'm really honored to have been put in that position. That is, you go through second VP, first VP, and now I'm president of that. So what my job will be is to be the ambassador and to work with our legislators. And let's remember, our legislators and our councils have about a 20 to 35% turnover every single year. So when you're doing that, you've got to re-educate, let people understand what it means as legislators, because many of them aren't sitting at the dais like we are. So it's an opportunity, it's educational opportunities for all of our council members to work as a united voice on major bills and issues that we're all going to deal with. So I'm thrilled, and I do that both at the state level and at the federal level. So at the federal level, we look at FEMA, we look at HUD, we look at grants that our people are trying to get. So it's my husband, as he did my intro, and it was so sweet. He basically told him that I'm on loan for a year. I'm on loan, like, hello. But it's going to be a year, and especially with some of the issues that you heard the senator speak to, property taxes,
Well,
Doge.
don't jump ahead. Don't jump ahead.
Okay.
So
How much time does that require? Like, how often do you meet? Like, because you're pretty busy with other stuff too.
I am, but you know what? It all ties together. And when I had this opportunity, that I did let the council know, because I'm vice mayor. Sanibel is my, that's my first priority. Rebuilding of our islands, rebuilding of any of the communities around the coastal communities, or anybody that's hurt. But Sanibel's first and foremost. It is going to be a time saver, but I seem to keep finding some time. But my family's very, they realize they got to let me go because I can't stop putting my hand up.
Little rapid fire round here before the more detailed questions. Do you think it's fair that the legislature doesn't have to follow the Sunshine Law and you do? Yes or no?
I think the senator really brought up some good points.
Yes,
but
for sure.
we actually, you don't want, and I think what happened was for why Sunshine was originally put in place, because people were making deals probably that might have been a financial benefit to themselves as well a long time ago. And it is difficult, but it is the law. So we follow the law. We can be in a room together. We just can't discuss anything that might come before us. But, in these small communities, council members are our friends. They have a different process, but they're out there whipping those votes too.
Yeah.
You see a straight line
makes sense
vote.
to you. Makes sense to you.
It makes sense. I think there's going to be some question on that coming up, whether that's fair to all of us. But right now, that's the law. And
I wouldn't want it to go backwards. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want the Sunshine Law to go away.
And that could, and that's probably where there were a number of really bad actors that maybe that was the best course
for the whole group instead of just the one situation.
So do you ever feel like the legislature as a whole is trying to rip away home rule?
Sometimes. But not all the times. I think there are bills that will come forward, and the senator spoke about the vacation rental bills. It's died. It's continued to die. I think that I've been working on that for several years, trying to find a happy medium. Let's remember, VRBO or Airbnb or any of those, they're not American based. They're someplace else, and each one of those homes is a business. So I know that there's been, hey, we need to have more loose requirements on vacation rentals, things like that. But each municipality, all 411 us, we're run differently. And for us, we're one of the grandfather communities, and our zoning drives what our community is. You cannot make it more strict And the statutorily, we really need to make sure that we're allowed to run our municipalities the best way. There's a reason people move places, and it's to protect what we have, our zoning in place, the rules that we have in place. So I know for the city of Sanibel, I truly believe if we were loosened, we would become an Amelia Island. We would become, you would lose that community if we loosened our vacation rentals. I truly believe that would impact because everyone would buy there
Right.
to have short-term
For
rentals.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and that I don't know if they think it's a good thing or not a good thing on Fort Myers Beach. Pretty much every single house or condo can be a vacation rental on the beach. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, it's hard to be a community of people
If
when
there's so much, yeah.
every single house can be some sort of vacation rental, but they decided to do that. I'm not making any judgment on that. It just seems like to me they hadn't figured out really whether they want it to be a community or a vacation destination. And now we're seeing it even more with the other stuff going on. But every single street, as far as I know, you can rent out your place, and that's just the way it is on the beach. Is it that way on Sanibel?
No, Sanibel, actually, we have a resort housing district, so it's along the beach.
I see.
But what we have in our neighborhoods, it's a 28-day rental, minimum 28 days. So we have specific zoning to try to make sure that we are continuing that community feel. And so your next door doesn't become a business and
Right.
changing our, now that's our, that was thoughtfully
Mhm.
done. And that's
Right.
what we really want to protect. But that's just, we use vacation rentals. But I know with the legislature that I've been working with in the last few years, we really are trying to work together to make sure that the bills that are being put in place work for everyone.
Yeah.
And, that's part of my job for the Florida League of Cities is to make sure that we are getting those bills put in place. And a lot of them never see the light of day because they are just so far out in whatever field, right, left, whatever. So, I do think there is an opportunity for continued communication. I mean, it's funny, my platform, which was pretty easy to say, was building bridges, leadership through connection. We're connecting right now. What we found for the city of Sanibel after the storm, the most important thing that we could do was communicate every single day with the citizens.
Yeah. If I could
Whether
just
they
take-
liked it
Here we
or
go.
didn't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
If
So,
I get-
and I'm just saying it worked.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe in, whether it's water quality, whether it's a federal ad hoc, I'm on the disaster, federal. When we talk face to face, we understand each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
So,
if I
I'm
could just
really
take
proud
you
of that.
down a quick
Here we
trip
go.
of memory lane, when the storm hit, Sanibel, the entire government of Sanibel was out in
Bell Tower.
Bell Tower at the what's the name of that hotel?
It was
Joe's.
then the Crown Colony.
And
Mhm.
the minute you walked into that hotel, there was a city of Sanibel employee sitting at a desk waiting for residents to come in, and then you guys were set up. And I know I've criticized. I don't want to harp on that the town of Fort Myers Beach just didn't
Well,
have
just
that kind of
praise
thing
them
ready.
then, and just don't have the other
and
side.
so you guys were totally prepared, far enough away from the storm to
Right.
take care of that. But it was amazing.
Is that still the plan?
Well,
God forbid if something were to happen.
and let me say, I think that everyone was doing the best they could.
Mm-hmm.
There was no playbook, right?
Well,
So-
you guys were.
So it's a learning experience. I think that we have been able to go to other municipalities and try to say, okay, communication is key. Call or go and visit. And so we've always had a plan in place. Did we ever think our bridge would be taken out? No. And I remember somebody saying, hey, if your bridge is gone, you're done.
Yeah.
They don't know us. When our bridge was gone, it was like, how are we going to get it
Yeah.
back? But I think that it worked well for us. We have pre-storm, we get all the stakeholders together well in advance. We have hurricane seminars. We really try to make sure we have the steps in place. And I think that it's proven that it's worked well. Can we learn from it? And are there things that we didn't do correctly? Of course, because at that magnitude, the world is watching and we're continue to learn.
So
Were there things that you changed going forward that you would do differently?
I think one of the major issues that I saw was not the central command. You had many other agencies working, right? And sometimes it was conflicting on some of who's taking charge of that or who's taking charge of this. We put our comms outside, right outside of Big Arts, and we actually had a facilitator that came in from Colorado to have a think tank every morning to say who is going to do what. So we were not crossing over. And I think we learned a lot from that. I think that what we tried to do every day, and I think you saw us, we use the word pivot. When our citizens address something, like if you saw me on every one of those every day, you might have seen me on 2 phones. That's because I was taking text information from anybody around the world or our citizens that had a question. So we changed almost every day on the direction that we were going to go in, getting our citizens back, because their houses, they didn't know the condition. We had to get them back. Knowing when they had to reopen the causeway, things like that. We held it closed for a long time to protect our citizens' home and their safety. But there's always a lot to learn.
So one of the things that I find interesting about Sanibel is you can't come to City Hall, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm getting this wrong, and ask for a variance. Your rules are your rules. There's no way to skew from the rules. You have a plan in place, and that's the plan. That's the end of the story, right? You
Wrong.
make it okay. Thank you.
Wrong.
Can you clarify
so,
that?
Yep. So we have our planning commission. Anyone is allowed to come forward for variance at any time. But then you have to, there has to be a hardship. You have to follow. There's 7 different rules on are you following these rules? But that process, and that's why there should be a variance process, right? Anyone is able to come forward and request a deviation from our Sanibel plan. But there is, there's definitely the process you have to go through. We actually changed, we have 49 ordinances so far, probably even more to this date, that once we put a moratorium on, when we opened up, what Senate Bill 250, and I again give a great credit to the senator of working with us on Senate Bill 250, because it was pretty restrictive, and I think Senate Bill 180 is as well, that we might need to go back. We were actually able to work with them and then look at ordinances. And what I questioned every time as mayor, when things were bringing forward, is it more restrictive? Is it less restrictive? And why? And if it was more restricted, I certainly wanted to know why. But we actually, before they even had Senate Bill 250 in, we looked at those things and we tried to make allowances that were less restrictive. Because things that we, when you say, what did you learn from it? Well, we learned a lot. Those, 49, 52, 55 ordinances that we changed have been allowances for people to come back, rebuild, look at things differently. And we continue to do that today. So there's that. And then you can actually appeal to council as well.
You make it hard, though. It's harder. You think it's pretty hard for a reason.
Well, I think that what Sanibel does, we're a conservation-based island. We're 70% conservation. We live in harmony with nature. 70%.
Wow, I didn't know it was that high.
And that saved us. Look at the difference of what happened because of what we protected. And I think value-wise, it is going to exponentially come back stronger, because where else in the world do you have a place like Sanibel? So we protect our height, we protect our density. So I think that those are kind of our real hard line in the sand. But we really want to work with people to say, we want you to have the confidence to come back. What's the ROI to come back? Because that's hard because of the cost to build.
So let me ask you, I want you to be brutally honest right now.
I usually am.
Okay. So FEMA has made an example of Fort Myers Beach. They have pulled this 25% discount. They have, put them on probation. They've people with it doing work without a permit. The whole thing just seems like they really made an example of Fort Myers Beach. Are you telling me that nobody on Sanibel did work without a permit?
How could I even say that? Because I don't know what I don't know. Do I think people are not pulling permits when they're supposed to? Of course. I mean, how do you police that?
But how was Fort Myers Beach the only municipality? It was going on everywhere. Well, if we're being honest with each other, everybody
it's going on
did
everywhere.
So why just Fort Myers Beach, in your opinion?
Well, I think what we did proactively, we had FEMA come out with every property to show them all of the ones that they pulled, because we had those pulled as well. So our building director, Craig Mollet, they went out and showed the process. And so, for us, it worked. What I have seen on Fort Myers Beach is they keep changing the goalpost. And I can tell you, the work that we've been trying to do with FEMA on recovery funding, when you've got, one person and another person, and you've got layers deep of people that just pick up this piece of paper that haven't even looked at it before, and they're the ones in charge when they don't know the history. When we started with FEMA, we're still waiting on funding to come. We've gotten, some funding, but they keep changing the rules. And I will tell you that President Trump, he has put together a disaster task force, and there's a number of people that are on that. I just joined through under that task force. There's an ad hoc committee that's also working to see what we can do better.
Another committee.
Well,
Girl.
you know what? It is, and this is the process. But I can tell you, Jane Cantor, who is the mayor of Tampa, I mean, she's wanting that information, because I said, why aren't the smaller municipalities that were ground zero part of this?
Right.
And so we can try to help, but let's be fair. This bureaucracy is decades in making it the disaster that it is.
Okay, so just to end this part of it, why was Fort Myers Beach the only ones that were kicked in the what?
I can't answer that. I speak with Mayor Allers quite frequently. We've been to DC together. When you keep changing the goalpost, it's really hard to understand what the game's rules are. But we do have, Senator Scott's been hugely helpful. We've got Senator Moody. We'd have, I will tell you, Congressman Donalds has been amazing. His doors are open. Whenever we're up there asking a question, he follows through. I wish I had the answer to that. I think that's
Get a crystal ball out there.
a $1 billion or $2 or $3 billion question.
So the state of Florida recently announced the Elevate Florida program, where people could apply for additional funding to help raise their homes. And I don't know a single person that's gotten an award.
Well, let me just ask, do you know people in Sanibel who have applied for that?
I do. And that's why I really wanted to have the conversation here. Now, remember, that's a state program, right? So here we are 3 years later, right? We are the epicenter of what Elevate Florida should be formed for. And what that program was supposed to help with is 75% would be paid by the state of Florida, and then the owners would be responsible for 25%. I have asked our citizens to get in touch with me on anyone that has received funding. Do you know how many have received? 0 that I know of so far. And I would challenge anyone from Fort Myers Beach to let me know if anyone has received funding, because here we are 3 years later. There was a very small pot of money, but think of the people that cannot afford to rebuild their homes. But if they had an opportunity to elevate and they said, I'm going to do it, that's the way I can hold on. And I don't know of anyone that's received that. I just,
well, where's the money
Yeah,
going?
and the other thing too is
I don't know.
You want everybody to build back resilient.
Absolutely.
And so that there you go, and yet you're not releasing the funds. Just doesn't make any
Or
sense.
where is it going?
Do you know if that's public information? Like, where is that?
Where
Where
is
are
the
those
money?
grants going?
I've got to find that out.
Okay.
Since I've been preparing for when I was succeeded to the Florida League of Cities, and now I'm back home, and I want to start really digging into this, and also getting in touch with our FEMA director, Mr. Guthrie, to say where did that money filter to? Because they always look and say, well, you know what, you guys are not LMI, low to moderate income, but I can guarantee you the people that need to elevate their homes cannot afford to do that. Now, there are other programs, and we want to make sure that any of those other programs, they have the opportunity, if there still is. We've got over a few hundred that are elevating. I'm sure that you do on Fort Myers Beach as well.
If they're not granting those granting that money to Fort Myers Beach or Sanibel, I mean,
Where would it
else
be going? Yeah.
That's what we'd like to find out.
How much was the fund? How much was that?
Do you remember?
You know what? I don't. I'm going to say like 12 million, but that could be I don't know.
All
So
right,
don't
we'll
even
check
quote
into it.
that.
All right.
Yeah.
So the next thing I wanted to ask you about was, do you think that property taxes should be abolished?
We've had, where did Jonathan go? Did he leave?
I think he had to take his kids to the restaurant.
Oh, okay. Because his umbrella is still here.
Umbrella's still here.
So we've been having these conversations with our legislators, because it's not an easy issue. But let me say this: if I was somebody that heard that right? And I'm paying taxes and I think, wow, of course I don't want taxes.
Yeah.
But then you have to look at what those
That
taxes
funds.
go to.
Mhm,
You know, the
mhm.
revenue that we need to run our municipalities. Now, should anyone bloat their taxes? Absolutely not. I think there needs to be a responsibility of what you are charging and why, and be extremely transparent. But we have, you know, school, fire, you know, your cost of living is going up, but so is our cost of hiring, retaining,
Mhm.
running our city. So I think it's a very complex issue that we've got to look at. And when I look at the property appraisers, I was a property appraiser for 20 years,
Oh, I
so
didn't know
I
that.
understand it really well. And I know Matt. Matt was ag,
You
and
love
I
Matt.
was
Right.
residential.
Yeah.
And Matt does a great job. But remember, that's one property appraiser. There's no consistency all over the state. So then I can tell you, Fort Myers Beach and the city of Sanibel, we know what it's like to live without property taxes. You know what that means? We've got our hand out. Now, if you're
Yeah.
going to do more of a sales tax or a consumption tax, then are you just shifting it? Because somebody's going to pay for that, and who is going to pay for that? So I think it's a complex issue that needs to be looked at a lot more thoroughly. Like I started to say, if I was your regular person that is paying their taxes, I'd have my hand up saying, yeah. But then sitting from the dais, I understand what we need to do to run a city. And I think it's important that we continue to be our individual cities that can make decisions. Now, I look at Fort Myers Beach, I look at the city of Sanibel, you know, there's a millage rate, you know, our millages are still pretty darn low. So I know that there's certain questions of how much it's going to be. But when I look at that, and then I look at property insurance, now I know
Mhm.
people are getting shot down for property insurance all the time. Would I be more concerned about whether my property insurance is going up to $15,000 or,
Right.
you know, what do we need to look at? And I think that is critically important for us to look at, because many are still fighting that property insurance issue that I think is a lot bigger issue and has not been solved, and that's a state issue.
What's the
Well, I think the other thing too is the property taxes, like you said. You know, people are like, yeah, I don't want to pay my property tax. But when you think about the things, you know, then when you're complaining about something not getting done or this isn't so good, it's like, well,
can't have it
what
both
did you
ways.
think was going to happen if you're not paying property taxes? Because that goes to things like schools and police and all of those services and government, you know, when they're having to wait extra long to get something at the town or whatever, it's like, well, that's the cost. There is a cost that will be associated with cutting those taxes to zero.
And I think if you have areas that are using a revenue opportunity to bloat and taxes, it's not acceptable.
Right.
You know, you want to be revenue neutral at the end of your budget. That's what you're supposed to be. So we're going to have those conversations. I mean, this failed about 13 years ago, but
Yeah.
we're in a different
I see.
world now. And I think there's going to have to be a huge educational shift to know what that means and how. And I know I'm going to be working with the state. I mean, I felt like, you know, after Ian, my shoulders were heavy, and just stepping into the Florida League of Cities as their president, this is going to be one of the main discussions that we're having. So here go my shoulders again. They're
Yeah.
really
Right.
heavy. And actually Doge as well, that we're looking at the
Yeah, they're starting to stick
municipalities.
their nose into the local municipalities. Have they come to Sanibel yet?
Yes, absolutely.
Did
Yeah.
they find anything?
No, they're reviewing. We just at our conference just this last week, we had discussions. We had the person that's heading up Doge for the state, and you know, when you look at, like, for example, a road being built, right? A road being built on Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Barrier Islands is going to be a much different cost, right? You can't have, you know, when you're looking at transportation, when you're looking at, you know, most every silo that we have, we've got to run our cities. So again, you shouldn't be bloating and using revenue and, you know, trying to have a revenue driver to just keep funding and funding. And I think Jonathan had a great analogy. When you see our values going up and up, now ours, you know, they're going to start to climb again.
Mhm.
We need to make sure that we're using that respectfully for our citizens. I'm a huge steward of our taxpayer
What is the
dollars.
millage? Is the millage staying flat or going up this year for you?
Well, we're right now. You've been allowed to say what the highest will
Sure.
be, and where we were is 2.5. And we were at 2.5. We went up to 2.5 after Charlie. So we looked at that as our benchmark. Let's look at the 2.5 because I think we both our municipalities still have a couple critical years. You look at a 5-year
Right.
for where a municipality is after a disaster. And, we're at 3 years. We got at least a couple more years as we're looking to see what our population is, what our workforce is, what businesses are back. So we've got to be very cognizant of that, especially when we're going to our legislators and they ask for a match, right? So we've got to have skin in the game of saying what we are looking at for our priorities to say our citizens, our taxpayers are going to be giving this much money. So we're at 2.5 and we'll see where that remains. But
Is that up, down, flat? What
we were at 2.5 last year as well. So
the proposal for this next coming year is 2.5.
Well, right now, but our council again,
can't go down.
We can
Can't
go down.
Can't
We
go
cannot
up.
go up.
So it will
that's
not
further
go up.
discussion.
You are not raising taxes no matter what because it's 2.5.
Well, we still have that discussion because we can go down. Yes. So
Right,
we
right,
cannot.
right.
We will not go any further.
It's not going to be a 26% increase.
Well, and what is but what does that mean?
But where are they starting?
What is that? What does that dollar amount mean?
No, it's
So
very.
you can look
Fort
at
Myers
20.
Beach is the lowest on their tax bill.
It
It's always
is.
been the lowest.
Yeah,
on their
so
tax-
you
well,
can look at
besides the
that as-
library. Library's lowest, right?
But
Isn't
you
the
know
library
what?
lowest? You're on the library board. I think the library is the lowest.
So let's remember, and this is so important, that when you look at that pie chart, and you can look at ours, and it's a dollar bill. You can go on our website.
Oh, the school boards. The school board's
School board
ripping
gets
everybody off.
37.5%.
Totally ripping everybody
Okay,
off.
the Lee County gets about 26%. Okay,
Yeah.
we get right now. I think we're at about 17%. Typically, we're 15. So when you look at that pie, what comes back, and then fire district things because we're a separate fire district as you are, meaning they are their own district.
Right.
So when you look at all of that, what
For now.
money we have, and then I also want to look at what money comes back to us out of that 26%, because that's important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did we miss anything that you wanted to share with our folks?
The 1.1 billion,
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
HUD money.
the HUD money. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I remember walking with Dan Allers and walking with then Secretary Todman of looking at the 1.1 billion that was going to come back, invest in our community, and get us back up. Here we are 3 years later. That money is still going to be allocated. It skipped the state. It went to the county, and very little because it's
How much have you
tied-
gotten?
I don't. A snippet, less than
Zero-
1%.
$0?
No, there is coming, and there's some coming, and there's more conversation, but that was meant to infuse our communities that are getting back in economic recovery for all of
Mhm.
your businesses that we didn't get any money for that. And that's been a driver that we've been talking about after a disaster is how can we help the businesses get back,
But
get
that
running.
money's spent. There's no way you're getting any of it. Right?
There could
I think it-
potentially be, one of the reasons that we've been in DC so much is to look at the waiver process to say infrastructure should, HUD, we should look at some of this money and shift it. They did after Sandy. We're still trying to get that come back to us, but it's been really difficult. And it's unfortunate because so many of that money has gone to many other projects around Lee County that might not have been hit as hard as certainly Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel. But we're still coming back.
When is your term expired? You just won again, didn't you?
I am up for reelection in 27.
Can you run again, or is there any term limit possibility?
We don't,
they don't have those.
We don't have.
Cool.
We're volunteers, so we do not get. There's no.
You don't get any money.
No.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
you got to love your community to be
Yeah.
able to give.
Will you-
24 hours a day, and we do.
Will you ever run for something higher office?
You know what? I'm focused right now on the city of Sanibel.
I love when people
Kind
never
of like when
say.
you ask Senator Martin over there.
Yep.
Right now, the Florida League of Cities, that's going to be a big job. It's the first time Southwest Florida has had a president since their
Sweet.
incorporation 104 years ago. But
Holly, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming.
so
Thanks for all
much.
the great information, and good luck in your run as president of the Florida League of Cities.
thank you.
Big hand
Thank you,
for
everyone.
Holly Smith from Sanibel coming over and sharing all that great information with us. And before we head on out of here, I shut my own microphone off. I want to thank you, send a thank you to Power Block Builders for coming back and sponsoring the show. Power Block Builders, they have over 35 years of structural experience, 8+ years in the business of something else that is not on this read here that I'm going to kill Marie for when I see her after the show. They've been focused on rebuilding Fort Myers Beach, which is the most important thing, and they have Meet the Builder meetings to showcase the homes currently being built. They can build all kinds of beach homes, from stick-built cottage homes to luxury custom homes. And if you didn't get a chance to watch our walk around yesterday, we walked around next to the Best Western where there used to be, I think somebody corrected us, like there were 5 cottages over there. Do you guys remember? There were 5 cottages over there. And Idle Construction is building. I think they're all going to rebuild those different. You would think in that piece of property that somebody would just buy up all the property and build one giant vacation home. But all those people are going to build their homes back. They're not going to be cottages, but they're going to be nice homes right next to the Best Western. So I don't know why I brought that up. But I thought it was fun to do on the walk around yesterday. Did I miss something? Okay. Grab the. Do you need to announce it? Go right. Which one you got there? Just tell me which one you're grabbing. Number 4. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, but
No
I did
worries.
want to. You had talked about August 30th. So basically, we have 46.
What is August 30th?
So I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. So August 30th, we're having like a sunrise retail celebration on the island. So at 7:07 a.m.
Oh.
we are having John Lai, our executive director.
Oh,
of
he's
the
great.
Sanibel. He is he's awesome. I can't even tell you. And we work side by side in so many areas. But it's the sunrise sale starting at 7:07
yes.
a.m. next Saturday, the 30th. The earlier you shop, the bigger the discounts. And we have 45 shops that are participating. So come out, support us.
Yes.
We always want to come out and support you as well when you have something going on your island, because together we succeed.
Thank
So
you very much. The sunrise, it's like a little shopping event that I've also tried to push it on the Fort Myers Beach people because it's such a great idea. So that's August 30th, everybody, if you have a chance to check that out. So I did want to get back to Power Block Builders because I didn't lose my place. You can give Power Block Builders a call right now if you want to. The phone number is 239-849-1919. That's 239-849-1919. I think I got all the sponsors. We apologize for running over. If you're watching from Cape Coral, thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks to our guests, Heidi, Holly Smith, and Senator Jonathan Martin, who also could be a body double for Blake Shelton. I don't know if you noticed that, but yes, he looks quite like Blake Shelton. I don't know who's taller, Jonathan Martin or Blake Shelton, but thank you all for coming. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Saturday live from La-di-da. Bye-bye.